So Tony, you've added Mile Jedinak to your coaching staff. How did that come about?
Firstly, we're delighted that Mile has joined us on our journey towards the World Cup, which is getting very close now. I've known Mile a very long time. I've known his family, in particular his father, growing up through Sydney United. He was always heavily involved with the club. Got to know Mile at Crystal Palace while he was a player and I was an assistant coach there. So we've always stayed in contact. I always felt that there was room for us to bring in another coach, getting closer to the World Cup. There is a lot of room to work on specific areas of our game and really hone in on the detail where, every detail matters in all matches, but in particular at a World Cup at that level. So we were looking for a coach, but there are many good coaches out there, but someone with his experience, Socceroo experience, former captain, has played there, understands what it takes to be at a World Cup. He's been to 3 World Cups. And then you see the experiences that he's had in the Premier League, working with a fantastic manager in Ange Postecoglou. He can bring some of that knowledge, some of the things he's learnt with Ange, the things that he's seen. So when we come up with certain situations and scenarios, he can bring about his understanding of that, or what he's brought or what he's gone through in the Premier League at a very high level, together with Paolo, Foxy, Frankie Juric. I think we have a wonderful group of people, and I love the fact that they're all former Socceroos, and we're really looking forward to what's coming up. In terms of all the detail and preparation that goes into it, we may be together for any preparation 3 or 4 weeks before the World Cup starts, and then obviously you want to stay as long as possible. So you could be looking at a couple of months together. With international football, there are gaps between, and when you can see each other in person. So, September, October, November windows are fine because the spaces between them are quite short. So, you're away from each other for a couple of weeks and you're back together again. Between November and March, I feel the gap is a little bit long. You can do your Teams calls and, you get online, but there's nothing like being together and connecting face to face and just talking about the game we love and talking about the different situations and analysing the games we've played, looking at the opponents that we've got coming up, watching the players, seeing potential players for the camp in March, potential players that could come in for the World Cup. And Mile adds that experience, and living in the UK, he can cover that area. We've got Paolo that can cover the rest of Europe on the continent. He's covering Italy and Holland and Belgium, Germany. We can get Mile to cover the UK. Foxy's covering here in the A-League, and Frankie's going wherever he needs to be to look at all potential goalkeepers. So it's a valuable exercise for us to be together. We all share the same vision, the same passion, and I'm very fortunate. I'm surrounded by great people.
You're obviously monitoring players on a daily basis. Can you provide, just a general update on the Socceroos players at the moment?
We're obviously monitoring a lot of players, and I think I've said from the outset since I've started this job that regardless of where the player's playing, we want to cast our eyes far and wide on every Australian. And let every Australian player believe they have a chance, whether they're playing in the A-League, whether they're young, whether they're a more experienced player, and likewise once they're outside of Australia. Fortunately, at the moment we have a lot of injuries to senior players and players that have been key for the Socceroos in the past, and also in the period with me through the qualifiers. But that's something we can't control, unfortunately. We try and influence those players the best we can, but we have to respect the clubs, respect where the players are, who they're employed by. But that's probably the difficult part for me as an international coach, when you get a text message or an email or a phone call telling you that a player has got injured or he's not back yet. So we have a number of players that are probably struggling at the moment in terms of fitness, but that creates an opportunity for someone else, maybe in the March window, to come in and surprise us, to really show their level and their quality, and put them on of possibles for the World Cup.
World Cup base camps. Can you just expand on that, obviously, and all the work that's gone in behind the scenes over the last few months?
Yeah, a lot of work goes into that, which I didn't realise how much is done. So I've experienced that firsthand, obviously, with the staff here and also the football staff supporting that in terms of looking at the options that we have. You know, it's quite difficult because you get told where you're playing. You know, America's so big, and then there was the possibility of playing in Canada, which we have one game there. We could have played in Mexico, so you're trying to cover all scenarios. So we got the base camp that we wanted, and the training pitch is fantastic. People have been great, very accommodating, and I'm sure, you know, we're planning to go back there again soon to finalise those details in terms of what we need. And you know, there's still a lot to cover in terms of what rooms you need, the food, the nutrition, obviously the pitches, the quality. You know, we want the players to feel as comfortable as possible. They can just go out and you know, and be at their best.
March games, Cameroon and Curaçao confirmed. I guess just a line on those opponents and the March window in general, how important these games are.
Yeah, look, all games are important, and we've learned a lot through the qualifiers and also the recent friendly games that we've played. This is another opportunity for us to play the type of opposition from a confederation we haven't played against. So there's a different style. There's something different to deal with in terms of the physicality of the teams. So 2 exciting games for us. They're our last matches before we go to the World Cup. They're here at home. Yeah, we're looking forward to playing in front of you know, the Socceroo fans who are always very supportive of us, and we want to leave them on a positive note before we really start fine-tuning the last part of our preparation for the World Cup, and I'm sure everyone will be behind us for these games in March.
And just to expand on that, it will be the last opportunity for Socceroos fans to see the team on home soil before the World Cup. So yeah, hoping for strong home support.
Yeah, great support. I mean, we always get that support. We feel it. You know, it's a chance for us to, you know, leave on a high with our fans. They get to see us for one last time before we go to the States. You know, we're hoping that as many players are fit and available, that they can come back and they can see their heroes, the players that they love and adore. And hopefully there's some surprises in there, some exciting players that maybe they haven't seen before, that they can come out and watch and fully get behind the team, and you know, and help us in terms of the support they give us for our preparation, which ultimately is to be ready for June.